tough proposition, Andy. You know, if I did it, I'd have to run it my way.
You got it.
I'm serious, no interference.
Nobody's going to interfere with you running the casino, I guarantee you.
Everybody start to sing, la-di-da.
And that's how they got Ace to take over.
Cash. Tons of it. I mean, what do you think we're doing out here in the middle of the desert? It's all this money. This is the end result of all the bright lights and the comp trips, of all the champagne and free hotel suites, and all the broads and all the booze. It's all been arranged just for us to get your money. That's the truth about Las Vegas. We're the only winners. The players don't stand a chance. And their cash flows from the tables to our boxes, through the cage, and into the most sacred room in the casino. The place where they add up all the money, the holy of holies, the count room. Now, this place was off limits. Even I couldn't get inside. But it was my job to keep it filled with cash, that's for sure. But
They had so much money in there, you could build a house out of stacks of $100 bills. And the best part was that upstairs, the board of directors didn't know what was going on. I mean, to them, everything looked on the up and up, right? Wrong. The guys inside the counting room were all slipped in there to skim the joint dry. They'd do short counts, they'd lose fill slips, they'd even take cash right out of the drop boxes. And it was up to this guy right here, standing in front of about $2 million, to skim the cash off the top without anybody getting wise, the IRS or anybody. Now notice how in the count room nobody ever seems to see anything. Somehow somebody's always looking the other way. Now look at these guys, they look busy, right? They're counting money. Who wants to bother them? I mean, God forbid they should make a mistake and forget to steal. Meanwhile, you're in and you're out. Past the jag off guard who gets an extra C note a week just to watch the door. I mean, it's routine. Business as usual. In, out, hello, goodbye, and that's all there is to it.
The 7 days
He was a money machine.
on the 7 month,
A tremendous earner for these guys.
the 7 doctors
As
say
soon as he took over, he doubled and dropped.
he was born for good luck.
With Ace, the casino never saw so much money.
You see,
And the bosses, they couldn't be
I
happier.
got $700. Don't you mess with me, but you know, yeah. Everybody knows me.
But still, I had no choice. I had to take care of them. These yokels ran the state.
Thank you very much, Senator.
They passed the laws. They owned the courts.
Hey, I need a room. Good to see you.
I had dozens of politicians and state officials coming through that place every week.
Certainly.
Why not make them happy?
Promise to let you enjoy.
Like these yokels here, who never heard of Nicky or the bosses back home. Because they're the morons who give you the most trouble. Even after we catch them, they try sneaking back with beards and wigs and fake noses. You can spot those by watching the way they bet. Like this guy. He's betting lavender chips at 500 each with only one little problem. He's always guessed right. If he wasn't so greedy, he'd have been tough for the spot. But in the end, they're all greedy.
I got a feeling about the future, and it ain't too good, I know that.
I saw that the dealer was weak, but he wasn't in on it. He just wasn't protecting his hand. He was lifting his whole card way too high. Now here's this guy reading the dealer's whole card and signaling his buddy at this table.
Can't close my trail, I said so one time before. Ain't superstitious.
And that's just what these hustlers look for. They cruise from casino to casino looking for weak dealers the way lions look for weak antelope.
Got me so far, and you know I ain't gonna let it stop me now.
Operator, this is Mr. R. Get me Armstrong and Friday over at Pittsburgh right away. DJ-19 second base of beer. Operator, I need Mr. Happy. Loud.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jack. Happy birthday
Man down! Medical. We got a cardiac arrest here.
It's fine, folks. Just give us some room, please. Watch yourselves.
They never know what hit them, and if and when they do find out that they just got zapped by a cattle prod, they wish they really did have a heart attack. He bet 1,000 a hand instead of his usual 30,000 a hand.
The bank was a natural 8 over a 5.
But I knew the trick with whales like Ichikawa was that they can't bet small for long. He didn't think of it as winning 10,000, he thought of it as losing 90,000. So he upped his bets. Until he dropped his winnings back and gave up $1 million of his own cash. In the casino, the cardinal rule is to keep them playing and keep them coming back. The longer they play, the more they lose. In the end, we get it all.
Damn it, trying to make it real compared to what sucked you to me.
In Vegas, everybody's got to watch everybody else. Since the players are looking to beat the casino, the dealers are watching the players. The boxmen are watching the dealers. The floormen are watching the boxmen. The pit bosses are watching the floormen. The shift bosses are watching the pit bosses. The casino manager is watching the shift bosses. I'm watching the casino manager. And the eye in the sky is watching us all. Plus, we had a dozen guys up there, most of them ex-cheats, who knew every trick in the house.
Trying to make it real compared to what.
Thank you. Very nice.
I told you I was hot today.
Looking good. Looking good. Let's go. Listen for Ginger. Come on. Listen for Ginger. Let me have 100 on the hard 10. 100 on the hard 10. Thank you.
Hard 10, 100.
Here we go. Now we're coming up. Now we're coming up.
Take chances, drive fast.
Thank you very much. Ginger, honey, this is for you, love. Thanks for your time. What's the matter?
What do you mean, what's the matter? I made a lot of money for you. I want my cut.
What money? I've seen you stealing from me.
What money? Look at the stack of chips. Don't give me that shit. I want my
I've been watching you all night.
Don't give me that shit. I want my money.
The bag full of fucking chips.
You stole? I didn't steal anything from you.
Get lost, Ginger. Get lost. Yes.
Get lost?
Yes.
Well, how about that?
I've been told, baby, you've been told I won't be no fool no more.
My sweet baby, you're the
Look at this place. It's made of money. You know what the best part is? So I started getting everybody in line. Best of all, for the first time in my life, I figured out a way not to lose.
1 million.
All in.
Call or in. Gentlemen, showdown, please. 2 pair, aces and sevens. Queen plays, wins.
I'm sorry. That last hand nearly killed me.
Gentlemen, with this chip exchange, we enter the final phase of the game, which means no more buy-ins. The big blind is now $1 million.
4 players. Monsieur bet. Monsieur Bond.
Check.
Check.
24 million in the pot already.
Check. Check. Or check. 4 players.
Check.
Check.
All in. 6 million.
Bet. 6 million. All in. $5 million. All in. Bet is 6 million.
Race.
Raise. 12 million. Heads up.
$40,500,000 all in.
Raise all in.
Well, I think I will call you on that one.
Call.
$115 million in the pot.
Gentlemen, showdown, please. Flush. Ace, king, queen. Full house. 8 full of aces. A higher full house. Aces full of sixes. Monsieur Bond. Five and 7 of spades. The straight flush. 4 to the 8. The high hand. Monsieur Bond wins. For you. Thank you very much.
The casino business is a unique one. A business model where you're responsible for handling and paying out millions of dollars at any given time doesn't seem very stable, yet the industry has proven to generate a lot of money. But how exactly do casinos operate? No matter what casino you look at, their gambling activities will operate almost identical. There are two ways they make money from gambling: table games and slot machines. Each game has their own house advantage, the percent of money wagered the casino will win in the long run. The most popular table games and their house advantages include roulette, craps, blackjack, and baccarat. The house advantage for slot machines usually ranges from 2 to 15%, depending on the type of machine. If a game has a 3% house advantage, for example, the casino will keep 3 cents for every dollar wagered on that game in the long run. So if $1,000 are wagered, the casino will win $30. The house advantage basically guarantees the casino will make money over time, and it also ensures it maximizes its revenue. Casinos can adjust these rates by changing the game designs or reprogramming slot machines, however, it's important for them to stay low. If house advantages were extremely high, the casino would make much more money in the short term, but people will quickly stop playing. Despite what may seem like low house advantages, the casinos actually make more than what it seems. Let's say a person has $1,000 they want to gamble at the blackjack table, which has a house advantage of 2%. If they were to wager all of that $1,000, the casino would come out with $20 profit in an infinite simulation. In a real scenario, the person will win and lose bets throughout the night and may end up wagering far more than that original $1,000. Over the course of a few hours, they may have wagered up to $5,000, meaning they would have lost $100 in the long run instead of just $20. This is why it's so important for casinos to keep the person playing as long as possible, and is partially the reason for strategies such as a low house advantage, table limits, and complimentary offerings. The type of player matters just as much to the success of the business, and the customer base can be split into 3 parts. There's the coveted VIP players, the common everyday mass market player, and the more casual slot player. The VIP player is usually the most valuable for casinos because of their ability to wager millions in a trip to the casino. They often play on lines of credit using special chips and receive the highest complimentary offerings. The mass market players are the everyday people who walk up to a table on any given night and play modest amounts. Still an extremely important segment that even has higher margins than the VIP segment in some locations. Lastly, the more casual players who don't want to sit at a table or prefer the more relaxed nature of the machine will play slots, which can be the biggest revenue source for the casino. Casino operators can even calculate the value of these players to see how they should cater to them. By using the house advantage, bet size, time played, and the pace of the game, the expected amount won can be calculated. For example, suppose a baccarat player bets $100 per hand for 5 hours at 60 hands per hour. Using a house advantage of 1.2%, this player's worth to the casino is $360. This allows them to not only calculate the performance of individual games, but also allows them to set complimentary policies. The casino can then determine what they can afford to offer a potential player for free while still coming out on top. This could include things such as show tickets, hotel stays, and free restaurant meals, all with the goal of the player staying longer or coming back. Each type of player base is important. However, there are vast differences between markets despite operating relatively the same. If we look at Las Vegas Sands, which has properties in 3 major markets, the US, Macau, and Singapore, we can see the differences between markets and strategies companies use. 80% of LVS's Macau revenue, for example, comes from mass market play, whereas SJM, one of Macau's original casino operators, only generates 50% of their gaming revenue from the mass market. This difference comes from the different strategies the companies use. If we take a deeper look into the Macau market, we can see LVS, a relatively new entrant in the market, targeting the mass market customer through non-gaming amenities. They cater to the modern Macau, filled with new customers corresponding with China's economic growth and increased ease of travel to the territory. These customers aren't necessarily looking to gamble, but rather enjoy a vacation at one of the massive resorts. SJM, on the other hand, is one of the originals, and catered to the original Macau market, the VIP player. The reason companies like this have such large VIP revenues is because Macau has a completely different system for attracting VIP players than markets like the US or Europe. Macau gets this part of their business through junket operators. These are companies that offer services to high-income clients looking to play at a casino. Their services include making luxury travel and hotel accommodations, providing them with specialized offers at the casino, and even offering credit to gamble with. Junket operators partner with the casinos and make money by taking commissions on the VIP spending during the trip. Similar services exist in the US, however they are much more regulated. But in places like Macau, the government only recently started to regulate them. Junkets are the reason Macau has such a dominant VIP player base, but are also part of the reason why it's declining. Their history of money laundering and questionable debt collection practices have caused China's government to crack down on the operations. Macau is now seeing many of these operators move to less regulated countries. One thing that's common across all modern casinos is the addition of high-end amenities and a variety of things to do besides gaming. Casinos can no longer rely on gaming revenues alone and must have non-gaming offerings to not only attract the non-gaming customer, but to also entice potential players and retain current players. There must be options for the mass market customers as well as high-end options for VIP customers. Casinos would not be able to afford giving complimentary tickets to A-list shows or meals at Michelin-starred restaurants to mass market players, and VIP players will not be motivated to play at a casino that only offers a buffet and some small shows. As competition within a market increases, casino revenues decline, and operators have to substitute revenue with other sources like non-gaming offerings. In markets where there is growth in tourism, like Singapore, it's necessary to have non-gaming offerings because it's a destination resort to most customers, not a casino. This reverse in revenue sources can be seen in Western markets, and the beginning of it can now be seen in Asian markets. Las Vegas gaming revenues, for example, have been declining since the 90s, while non-gaming revenues have been increasing at a similar pace. In 1999, non-gaming revenues surpassed gaming for the first time, and since then it's been the dominant revenue source. The goal for many Western casino operators now is not to attract a certain type of player, but a large volume of players. Not only to get them to gamble, but spend as much money as possible at the stores, restaurants, and hotels the casino offers. This is the model Las Vegas Sands applied in Macau and Singapore, and it worked extremely well. They saw opportunity in Asia's mass gaming market and tourism market, while other operators were still focused on junket VIP players. By leading in things like hotel inventory, retail space, convention space, and entertainment venues, Las Vegas Sands attracted a tourist-type customer. As a result, their Macau revenue mix consists of 70% gaming and 30% non-gaming, with most of their gaming revenue coming from mass-market customers. Their Singapore revenues are similar, but it's easy to see how different the type of customer is, with slot revenue being much higher. MGM, a company that doesn't focus as much on non-gaming revenue as Sands, generates 90% of their Macau revenue from gaming and only 10% from non-gaming. MGM is a company with a lot of US operations though. The revenues from their Vegas properties are non-gaming dominant, which is what you would expect from the Vegas market. However, their regional operations around the country generate 70% of their revenue from gaming. This is because Vegas was designed as a destination to attract tourists, which over time turned into non-gaming customers. In areas where casinos are less concentrated and there is no reason for domestic or international customers to travel there, there will likely be a more dominant gaming market. These patterns are not unique to the US markets, but are also happening around the world. The operators in Asian countries can be seen responding to these patterns today. SJM, one of the original Macau casino operators, has recently finished construction on their latest development, the Grand Lisboa Palace. This is SJM's entrance into the non-gaming world, with the 520,000 square foot palace offering 2,000 hotel rooms, multiple Michelin-starred restaurants, luxury retail shops, and 300,000 square feet of gaming floor space. This is their response to the declining VIP market and marks their transition from being heavily reliant on gaming to a diversified tourism and hospitality business. Las Vegas Sands is expanding its Singapore operations to accommodate for the country's continued growth in tourism and visitation. The company is investing $4.5 billion to expand its Marina Bay Sands by adding a fourth tower and a 15,000-seat arena. This would solve their issue of not being able to fully accommodate their current demand while preparing for the rapid growth of Singapore's tourism industry. The business of casinos has gone through major changes over the years, but operators have managed to stay successful by adapting. The business is also not completely tangible, as so much of it now lies in the experience customers have, whether they're a non-gaming tourist or a high roller. Some people will have different preferences in terms of atmosphere, style, and what the casino resort offers. At the same time, the business models of casinos can be easily replicated and applied to markets across the globe. Yet they all share complexities in terms of operations and mathematics that this video only scratched the surface of.
see Butch here, and let me tell you something. I feel like I'm coming off of that long weekend. I feel like I've been drunk, even though I haven't had a drink. I don't drink anymore. I used to love my cocktails, my martinis, but what I really learned to love was internet poker. Oh yeah, I've been playing it since I'm a kid. Not on the internet, but you know, eyeball to eyeball, old school type. But the last few years, I really found a home there. You don't have to get out, you don't have to park, you don't have to wait for a game to start. I mean, what could be better? Poker was made for the internet, and the internet was made for poker. And you know, as far as these guys go, from Full Tilt and Poker Stars, yeah, they broke the they broke the law big time, from what I can read, and it probably was out of greed. I mean, it wasn't because they're worried about me or you. But the point is, there shouldn't have been a law to break. How could the United States be one of the few countries in the whole world that don't have legalized poker on the internet? Come on, absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, we got to get together big time. We got to put in a big push. Oh yeah, the congressmen, the senators, the dog catcher, anybody at all. You know, come on over to pokerfuneral.com. Let's get together. Let's really do whatever we have to do to make this great game absolutely safe, absolutely legal. I don't care if it's Caesars, I don't care if it's Wynn, I don't care who it might be. Let our companies run it, right from the United States here. People we can trust, people that we have no problems with, and let's get back to business.
This is the Financial News Network. I'm Hillary Russo. Here's what's making news at this hour. The founders of the 3 largest online poker sites were indicted by the FBI on Friday in what could serve as a death blow to the thriving industry. 11 executives at Poker Stars, Full Tilt Poker, and Absolute Poker were charged with bank fraud and money laundering in an indictment in a New York court. Prosecutors are seeking to immediately shut down the sites, eventually send the executives to jail, and recover $3 billion from the companies. 2 of the executives were arrested on Friday morning in Utah and Nevada. Federal agents are searching for the others. The online gambling industry has taken off over the last decade, drawing an estimated 15 million Americans to bet online. In 2006, Congress passed a law prohibiting online gambling. Most of the leading sites found ways to work around the law using foreign banks, but prosecutors allege that in doing so, they broke the law. For more on the latest news, keep it here to the Financial News Network. I'm Hillary Russo.
Now, last week, the Obama Justice Department led a massive crackdown on online poker sites, with the FBI indicting 11 people on charges of fraud, money laundering, and illegally operating online gambling sites. Now, these websites included 3 of the largest and most popular online poker forums: Full Tilt, Absolute Poker, and Poker Stars. And the government also filed a civil suit seeking to recover $3 billion from those companies. Now, while Congress passed a law in 2006 barring financial transactions from being made to online gambling sites, well, a lot of those sites just simply move their operations overseas and set up third parties to collect the money. And you can't say that their business has suffered. An estimated 1.8 million people participated last year, according to Poker Scout. And some organizations say that the real number is much larger. So why the sudden crackdown? And could it backfire for this administration? Here to discuss it with me is Julian Sanchez, research fellow at the Cato Institute. Julian, thanks so much for being here tonight.
Always a pleasure.
So these are the three of the most popular sites for online poker. How intense is that blow in terms of if you're an online poker player? What kind of damage has that done already?
Well, I think the most serious damage is done to people who have money in those accounts and frankly, people who make their living essentially as professional poker players. So those people, I think, are panicking right now because they've essentially discovered, in effect, that they've been laid off, and also that the money that they thought they had from previous winnings is also frozen, and it's not clear when they're going to be able to get it, if they're going to be able to get it.
So the government essentially could just take that money?
Well, no, it's frozen right now, but if as they are demanding, they end up getting a $3 billion settlement from these companies, whether there's anything left to pay the folks who thought they'd won it, is unclear, which is a little odd when you consider that laws banning gambling are always defended on the grounds that they're to protect people from themselves. And I don't know who feels very protected by having thousands of dollars they thought they'd won that they'd been counting on, maybe to pay their taxes, snatched out from under them.
What do you think this is really about, right? Because this Congress passed that law back in 2006. We know that the online poker websites have been doing very well since then. I mean, for $3 billion, I feel like it's not really that good of enough of an argument to say that this is really about revenue. I feel like the Obama, administration should be going after, how about, corporations that use a lot of tax loopholes and pay nothing?
I'm inclined to agree. So there's a boring answer and a sexy answer. The boring answer is that the law passed in 2006. It didn't actually become effective until the middle of 2010. And you could just say, well, it takes time to build an effective legal case. And so the fact that 6 or 8 months later we're starting to see the indictment come down isn't that surprising. The slightly sexier answer that people on poker discussion forums are bandying about is that we're starting to see the District of Columbia actually just approved online poker and gambling through its lottery board. Nevada has been trying to push, right? Nevada has been working on pushing through a law to legitimize and regulate gambling in that state. The problem is these sites have a big user base, a big head start. And so if you're a U.S. company that's looking forward to maybe being able to get into the game, you're at a huge disadvantage unless there's some way to clear the field. This is certainly a big benefit to them.
Now, I'm curious, what role do the casinos really play in this? As you mentioned, of course, in Nevada, there has been a bit of an effort to try to push for legalizing this type of online gambling. Caesars even got involved. But do the casinos also see these online poker sites as competition? Do they also lobby Congress to say, hey, get rid of them?
Well, yeah, I mean, you see, you see actually in a lot of different countries attempts to regulate online gambling by requiring sites that run online poker to have sort of brick and mortar establishments as a way to favor incumbents. But you've also seen, again, casinos like the Wynn form deals with some of these online poker sites in an attempt to essentially sort of cross-brand. These are also pretty big supporters, the poker sites, of the World Tournament of Poker and all these other physical poker tournaments. They often send a big chunk of the contestants to, again, these sort of international physical tournaments. So there's a combination of competition and cooperation.
Is there also a moralistic argument here? I mean, a lot of people, especially the people on these sites, would argue that poker isn't illegal. Poker doesn't even count as gambling necessarily. It doesn't compare to some of the other games out there because poker is a game that requires skill.
Well, it's true, right? I mean, there are professional poker players. Nobody's a professional roulette player. So that, I think there is actually a pretty good argument that this isn't quite like other kinds of pure chance gambling. And the thing is, the federal law itself is actually incredibly vague about exactly what kind of games are prohibited, which is why you'll notice the indictment in this case is not actually targeting the gambling itself. What it's doing is charging the executives of these sites with essentially money laundering and fraud because they, essentially misled banks about the nature of these shell companies that they set up in order to, essentially get banks to process payments to them.
I'm sorry, whenever I hear that somebody misled the banks rather than the banks misleading us, I just kind of stop listening. But let's very quickly, too, look at the people that play online poker. I mean, I know kids in high school that do. I knew a lot of people in college that were obsessed and, as you said, started making a living off of this. You could say these are younger people, right? They're probably not dirt poor. They might even be progressive. Do you think that this is something that could backfire for the Obama administration?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, certainly the online poker community is sort of up in arms. These are, again, people who are technically sophisticated enough to be, doing this on the internet instead of at some sort of seedy local hangout, and also, often are fairly affluent, sometimes because they've made a lot of money playing poker, and so this actually could be a case where the sleeping giant is awakened because the law that passed and freaked people out, but it wasn't actually having an impact on people's ability to play online until now. You might suddenly see a lot of people deciding it's time to get politically active.
All right. As soon as something finally hits close to home and affects you, that's when a lot of people do wake up. We'll see what the future of online poker is in the States. Thanks so much for joining us tonight, Julian.
So the government has cracked down significantly on online poker. They've arrested the guys who own two of the biggest sites, Full Tilt Poker and Poker Stars. I guess there was back in 2006, they made it illegal for banks to process credit card transactions to these online poker sites, but they engaged in, obviously because the sites continued, significant subterfuge, setting up sort of dummy credit card companies and offshore accounts. that enabled the sites to continue. And now here 5 years later, they've all of a sudden cracked down and shut down the sites, at least temporarily, and arrested these guys. One of the arguments that they're making, do you see one of the arguments that they're going to make in court, the owners of the sites, that they're not gambling sites because they involve skill, so it's not gambling.
Right.
So poker, not gambling.
It's not gambling. It's you're right. Right. It's like the stock market. They're
Right.
saying, there's a savvy to it.
It's an interesting. I mean, on the instinctively, you think that's crazy, but there's a.
We put it down as gambling. I mean, gambling. What they're saying when it's pari-mutuel and there's a house, it's very different. But the house is making money off of every hand. I mean, there's a rake on every hand of poker. It's called a rake, where they keep a certain amount of money. They're not doing. They're profiting.
They're profiting, but that's because they're running the site.
That's their service fee.
That's the service fee. They're not competing against you.
No, exactly. They're not competing against you. Though, I mean, I'm sure there's organization, and it has nothing to do with the people that run the site and why this legislation is happening. But yeah, it seems to be the most logical defense to get around what they're doing. Yet, so much of what they did was finding the loopholes in the law in order to continue operating. So they're going to have to answer for that as well.
It doesn't feel to me like, and not just because I gamble, and I don't play poker online, but it doesn't feel like it should be illegal. It just doesn't feel like this should be a crime. No. I mean, first of all, you can go to a bunch of cities in the country. Here, you can go to LA and do it. There are places you can do it legally. Why can't you do it?
They're probably
online?
motivated by the loss of taxation.
This was passed, though, in 2006 with a Republican Congress and a Republican administration, and this felt like social legislation, not an inability to collect taxes.
Right.
It felt like this is immoral, and we're going to crack down on it. And who cares? I mean, who cares? Yes, people...
Probably families of gamblers.
They don't care. I mean, sure, it's bad, but I mean, there's a lot of vices there that you could lose your money on. I mean,
should gambling be legal everywhere for anything?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes. I mean,
Michael?
I mean, I hate to lose the Vegas tradition, but I mean, I don't know that we should be legislating against people exercising their own judgment.
I don't think there should be the casino. I think there are too many casinos.
I agree that there are too many casinos, but here's a case where I would leave it. If a state wants to build a casino, they should obviously be...
I mean, Nevada shouldn't be the only ones to have it.
It's up to a state, and the federal government shouldn't get involved in that. Indiana wants to build another. I think they have them. Indiana wants to build a casino. Go forward.
Yeah.
And you want to gamble online? Gamble online.
Imagine a place shrouded by mystery. A sea-bound kingdom with its own captivating story to tell. A rich history that echoes through the ages. From the cries of the raven came the raiding hordes of Vikings, followed by raiders of a new kind, each leaving a legacy forever woven in the fabric of our folklore. Driven by the independent spirit of our islanders and a lore that still lies on a hillside. A melting pot of character and taste where you can enjoy royalty in sublime surroundings, where true heroes exist who ride and rise on mechanical beasts, mystical creatures wander at will, and sea monsters bask in the shallows. A snow-capped mountain and magical vistas of the Seven Kingdoms. A land of giants, tall tales and no tales, enchanted forests where fairies take flight, and a bridge that brings you luck. Landscapes carved from pure imagination and the majesty of Mother Nature herself. Culture forged from its own tongue and song. A world of tangled trees and twisted trails with endless walks that take you by the way of the gull. Standing at the edge of it all, a place that reminds you how life should be. Where legends are Manx made. Isle of Man, the extraordinary story.
I wouldn't dare consider myself a Manxman. I'm what here is called a stopover. The Isle of Man's definitely home for me now. In the middle of the 19th century, the island really began to try and grow its tourist trade. They chose to establish a steam railway. The sight, the smell and the sound of that steam railway is very evocative. The Great Laxey Wheel, or the Lady Isabella as she's called, is a massive working water wheel designed to pump water out of the deep mines. It's now the largest working water wheel in the world. Peel Castle's on an island called St Patrick's Isle, and the castle has a history of religious settlement and defence that makes a real strange mixture in the buildings that you see. The whole island itself, though, St Patrick's Isle, is enclosed by a curtain wall, a wall that goes all the way round it. What's special to me about the island is it's all sorts of different places in one. It's all sorts of different people. In a sense, it's the whole world in a tiny place.
Welcome back to CalvinAir.com's coverage of London Conference Week 2018. The LAC opened its doors today. This is the largest event of the year dedicated to the online gambling affiliate industry. We hope you enjoy the highlights. With mobile as such a huge focus these days, knowing how to build a solid mobile site is essential. Andor Palau shared several tips for affiliates who want to stay ahead of Google's mobile indexing.
At first, they need to make sure that the page they have built is really mobile friendly. So look at the search console and make sure that technically everything is okay. And then I think I would build something like an health system or health setup just to make sure and to monitor that everything stays okay, right? So sometimes the people just think, okay, I do that once and then it's done. No. Build something where you can monitor if your mobile page is really working as expected in the future.
The affiliate marketing industry has changed drastically in the past 10 years, with massive consolidation and sky-high CPAs. For some operators, the increasing prices can be a challenge, but it also creates space for smaller affiliates to shine.
For smaller affiliates that wants to grow and wants to come into the market, that wants to get in and wants to grow, and they want to grow with us, and we can help them, and they have the experience, and we have to find those guys that's hungry, that wants to grow and then becoming big good fighters. We can't afford to go into these top affiliates and do deals, because that will break us if we don't do it right way. So
I think that's good news for the industry. Actually, there's space for everybody, right?
It is, but it's more challenging. 10 years ago, you could have a beer, shake hands, and you will make money. Today is more, you have to calculate and you have to know what you're doing, and if you don't, and it can be a cost. It can cost you a lot.
Increasing compliance in the affiliate industry is another challenge both operators and affiliates are facing today. In order to educate both parties on how to manage the new landscape, Rue Wright mentioned several resources available today.
I think there's a myriad of organisations starting up, like Tom Galanis has started an organisation as a result of the Sky Betting and Gaming closure. That association now, I think, will be an industry watchdog in terms of watching affiliate programs, but also educating affiliates in what they need to do for compliance. Also, Leanne Johnson for Affiliate Insider. She's developing some amazing tools inside her company, training affiliates and also operators alike. And there's a number of new tools coming available in the market to be able to track affiliates and make sure that they're doing the right thing.
LAC is known for its professional athlete appearances. This year, we were surprised to see an undefeated female boxer promoting her new online casino brand, Lady Hammer.
Yeah, it's the first time that I'm here on the booth, and I want to present my Lady Hammer Casino. And I think it's very interesting to meet all these guys and make new connections. And my next fight is in April on Showtime in the US. That's my US debut, and I'm very excited.
I love it. And what do we have here? Can you describe your belts?
Yeah, I'm world champion WBO and WBC, middleweight, and then undefeated.
Undefeated. Love this. I'm here with the champion. Welcome back to CalvinAir.com's coverage of London Conference Week 2018. Today marks the official opening of the ICE Totally Gaming Expo floor, accompanied by a number of special announcements and reveals. Scientific Games and NYX completed their merger in January, leveraging ICE as a platform for unveiling the details of their merger. We caught up with CEO Matt Davey to get the full story.
Yeah, so today we've announced the launch of SG Digital. It's the fourth leg in the Scientific Games empire, so we'll provide a great platform, gaming content, sports betting content, and lottery content, all under the SG Digital business. So about 1,500 people in the company in our division, another 200 customers or so, 2,000 games, and an international footprint that I think is probably the biggest in the world now. So that's SG Digital.
European market growth strategies are key to a number of suppliers in our industry today. Habanero has chosen Italy as their doorway into expanding further into Western Europe.
Of course, the main regulated market in Europe at the moment, and the fact that I'm Italian certainly helps targeting it. But effectively, it's a big market full of very big players, and we can target it we're ready to target it from a compliance perspective. So I believe that Italy is important strategically in our vision, as a start to our vision to expand into Western Europe.
The desire to have a presence in multiple regulated markets almost always comes along with complications. Aspire Global believes they have the solution for operators who want to expand their global footprint.
It's true, it's one of the most challenging things. You know, when companies saying, okay, let's enter this market, that market, they don't know sometimes the work that the platform needs to be dealt with, and the certification and the development. So it takes up to a year to enter a market with a platform. So this is the work that we already did for 6 different jurisdictions, and we see it as a strength of our platform.
NetEnt surprised delegates this year when they revealed 3 exclusive announcements at ICE. Their partnership with Mr. Green to develop live casino product Live Beyond Live, and not 1 but 2 new branded slots.
Yeah, right now, as you know, it's not just movies anymore, it's TV series. They have more viewers than normal movies. So we went into that space this year, and the first brand we revealed was Narcos, the highest ranked series on Netflix.
Very good, and you had a second brand as well?
Yes, and for me, coming from Scandinavia, this brand is special. It's 37 million people watching it in 60 different countries, and it's Vikings.
We hope you enjoyed today's coverage of ICE Totally Gaming's massive expo floor. Hey everybody, this is Becky Legiro here today with Lloyd Purser, COO of Funfair Games. Lloyd, you and I had plenty of appearances on the WGES digital events in December, and we talked about blockchain, and you talked about how to engage the generation Y and Z, which is a really, really exciting topic. These millennials, these younger players that have really different needs than some of the audiences we've been focusing on for years and years in the online gambling space. So thank you so much for joining me. And yeah, let's dive in a bit into what Funfair Games is going to be doing in this space. So first of all, tell me why you guys have decided to focus so much on generation Y and Z.
Yeah, sure. I mean, as you mentioned, we've had a few conversations on the blockchain side, panels, etc. So Funfair started in the world of cryptocurrency and blockchain, building a casino platform that operated purely on the Ethereum blockchain. Throughout that, we've also seen in the crypto space that there's a certain different style of content which has been performing very well. We knew from our own data that in excess of 85% of all of our customers were under the age of 40. Actually, the majority of those under the age of 30. So we knew that there was definitely a young skew in the crypto gambling space, and seeing the types of games that they're playing had certain foundations which we thought, well, we really feel there's an opportunity to take this genre of content into the traditional online gambling space. because there's definitely an opportunity for operators to have a new style or I call it a new vertical, I'm not sure, but it's a new style of casino game which can really attract and engage that millennial or Gen Y, Gen Z audience. The key part of it being that the games are a multiplayer single outcome, let's say. So you've got multiple players playing against the house, effectively. Not different to a multiplayer roulette, for example. But, I suppose the most popular version of these types of games in the crypto world is Crash. And a lot of people know what a Crash mechanic is. It's when you'll have lots of players betting and seeing what everyone else is doing and being able to see live betting history, but also seeing all the other players engaging. And they're all effectively just betting against a multiplier. It's like a huge game of chicken, really. And the multiplier goes up and they have to cash out before it crashes. It's a very simple game, but hugely engaging. And we've seen younger audiences, younger gambling audiences engaging with this type of content. And I've been surprised at how many concurrent players they would have on these games playing consistently and the levels that they're playing at. And like, you know what, there's an opportunity here. We feel that we're in a good position to not just look at Crash games, but build other types of content with the same foundations, in that they're social, community-driven, in that they're active, i.e. that the player has an active role in the process of gambling, not just pushing a spin button and letting the RNG tell them the result. Whether it's a real-time cash out, whether they have to make a selection or a choice, looking at what other people are doing, that there's an active role. And also that they're simple, they're easy to understand, they're really engaging to play. And we want to try and build on those three foundations for our first set of content that we want to take out to market.
Yeah, I think it's really, really interesting. You can use your experience, of course, with the blockchain side of the business with this younger audience. And also, I think it's important for our audience to understand that the people on your panel at WGES about Generation Y and Z, they're not in the blockchain space. So this is applicable, like you said, to the gambling industry as a whole here. It's a big opportunity. Really, really interesting.
Absolutely. It was when we did the panel, the first question actually I wanted to pose to Matthias from Liga Vegas and Tobias from Casino Grounds is, do we have a problem? And both of them said, yeah, we do. Yeah. we can do more to engage younger gamblers, and these are the areas that we're falling down. And I think I wanted to establish with those guys that they see an issue. And I would assume, therefore, that many other operators are seeing a similar issue. That's why we think there's a big opportunity here.
Yeah, and I find that the whole live streaming of slots and all of this is just fascinating. Because at first I was like, wait, what? But then you start talking with these guys and you realize how popular it is. And I think at Fun Fair Games, you said on the panel that you're going to be creating a real sense of community for your customers and your players. And I just wanted to get an idea from you is how are you going to do that, and why? I think you already touched on it a bit, but just to dive into more detail, why and how the community, what role that plays in engaging these younger guys. How do you do it? How are you going to do it?
Well, first and foremost, we need to build our games on a platform which can accept multiplayer to single outcome. So distribution was critical for us. We did a deal with Every Matrix because they are going to support the style of content that we need. It's a bespoke development, and that means that we can have we can distribute content through a single player RGS, normal aggregation route, through multiple platforms. But what it means is that we can have multiple players playing in one of our games through that distribution pipe. So the way we're going to do it is we're going to have rooms. So we'll have up to 25 players in a room, and that can be configured by operators' platforms different ways. But the reason why we have a max 25 is because then everybody can see everybody who's playing with them. If you have 300, from a UI point of view, it's pretty difficult to actually envisage everyone within who you're playing. So we've looked at also visual ways of creating more community feel. So everybody can see the nicknames and the bets that everybody's putting on. But in our Crash game as well, we have a visualization of Rocketeers flying and walking into this ship with the money coming in. So you actually see the money going into the ship before it takes off. So we're trying to visualize betting activity in a way that's not just numbers and you know, so, and you're the little gold rocketeer and you can see yourself going in and the money. And then as that takes off, before, you know, as people cash out before it crashes, you know, you see them bailing out. You see all the kind of money bailing out shit, basically. And then when the winners come, we do win celebrations at the end on the little podium. We have all the activity again on the side. We're adding chat emojis into the game as well. So yeah, so that, you know, people can express their feelings. We, you know, a full chat version is something that to think about. We didn't want to do that at the outset because we felt that might be a little bit of a hurdle for some operators to like suddenly have a full chat, because chat can get quite toxic sometimes. I've seen.
Yes.
We know it does in crypto gambling anyway. But so yeah, there's an element of steps that we're taking towards building that. But our V1 is, you know, very much that everybody feels like they're playing in a community. They feel like they're playing against the house, really. And we celebrate wins, and we have people being able to communicate with each other with emojis and things, everything they're familiar with in everyday life. And that's really how we try and sense this give this sense of community and added excitement of playing in a group and seeing, you know, you can be competitive as well as cooperative. So yeah, we're trying to. It's incremental steps, but that's our phase one.
That's really cool, Lloyd. Everyone loves an emoji. That's very cool. Yeah. And I think the last point I wanted to touch on, as you mentioned it earlier as well, is that simplicity is key here. And I find that really interesting because a lot of the conferences I attend, everyone's talking about these amazing graphics and all these cool things they can do. So why do you believe this simplicity is sort of more important to these guys than complex visuals? Why is that?
I think when we say simplicity, what we mean is there's a real straightforward understanding of how you win or lose. Okay. Right? So where you might have a slot which has lots of complex paylines, sometimes you might, unless you've played a lot of that game, you might not actually understand, how did I win there? Right, how did I win there? So what we're saying is, like, it's very clear that you understand exactly, I'm going to do this, and this is the potential outcome that I can have, and this is how much money I can win. And, you know, that you can, in a simple way, follow and understand what other people are doing. So, you know, and in that as well, it's probably like taking the crash game as an example. If you look at every crash game on the market at the moment, most of them are incredibly simple. Some of them are just bar graphs that go up. And I think because the actual entertainment, the excitement of playing the game, you don't want to distract too much away from that, because it's quite a, you know, you're watching the multiplier go up and you've got to cash out before it crashes. So you're in that game when it's being played. You don't want distraction while the game is being played. So I think for us, that's the simplicity element of it, which is don't detract from the excitement of what the game is about. You know, that's probably what we're really thinking about with simplicity. That's kind of, you know, where we're coming from, rather than loads of different bells and whistles and wow, how did I win there, or how didn't I win there, or, you know, there should be no confusion. Yeah,
really interesting, Lloyd. Well, I believe that your first round of these games will be coming out at the end of Q1, around there, and I'm really looking forward to checking them out, because this is quite cool. Thank you so much.